Well, the Minnesota Timberwolves faced what looked eerily similar to a must-win game, trailing 1-0 in their Western Conference Final Series at home to the Dallas Mavericks. And they came out, responded, and played with the requisite amount of energy and desperation that would be expected in such a pivotal game, as they led by 18 points with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, on their way to a 12-point halftime lead. In fact, they led most of the game until the fourth quarter, as the Mavericks, who led the game at 8-7, would not lead again until Kyrie Irving hit a three-pointer with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter to put Dallas up 87-86. And from there, this game would teeter back and forth for the remainder of the quarter, but with 12 seconds remaining and the Timberwolves clinging to a 2-point lead, well, Anthony Edwards did this. While at the other end of the floor, Luka Doncic would not be denied. He got 4-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert on that switch, and he had him in absolute hell on this play before knifing the game winner. And Doncic, who was hobbled most of the night and took a couple of trips into the locker room throughout this game, managing that knee issue which has been plaguing him throughout the entire postseason, still managed to lead both teams tonight in points, rebounds, and assists, scoring 32 points on 10 of 23 from the field while adding 13 assists and 10 rebounds. And it is now his fourth triple-double in the last 5 games, becoming just the 4th player in NBA playoff history to accomplish that feat, joining Nikola Jokic, Wilt Chamberlain, and Magic Johnson. And for the Mavericks otherwise, Kyrie, who struggled for 3 quarters, was masterful in the fourth as he hit a plethora of big three-pointers to lift the Mavericks into a situation where Doncic could seal the deal for them with that 3. The loss, needless to say, crushing for Minnesota, as they have now fallen into the dreaded 0-2 hole and are heading on the road. And while they likely won't panic, as they themselves just won 2 road games to start a series in the last series they played against Denver, only to lose 3 straight in that one thing is absolutely certain. If the Timberwolves are going to get back into this series, they must be better in the clutch, a shortcoming that has dogged this team all season long. During the regular season, Minnesota had a minus 13.1 net rating in clutch time, defined as the last 5 minutes of a game within 5 points. Last series, they played the best team in the NBA in clutch time, the Denver Nuggets, who led the league with a plus 24.5 net rating in the clutch. The problem, though, for the Nuggets was they couldn't get into a close game with these guys. The Wolves blew them to pieces in their wins, but the Mavericks, with their stellar defense and two-headed star system, managed to get the Wolves into 2 tight games and stole both of them in the clutch. And no doubt, some of the responsibility for their failures at these late stanzas of the games has to fall on their star players. Both Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns have been absolutely dreadful in this series for the first 2. They combined to shoot just 9 of 33 tonight, and that is coming on the heels of a combined 12 of 37 game for these 2 in Game 1, the 2 All-Star selections this season. And speaking of all-league honors and decorations, Anthony Edwards was just named All-NBA Second Team a few days ago, which, by the way, was well-deserved. And just about 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Jordan and Kobe comparisons. Face of the league conversations were popping up. There were a lot of narratives percolating around Anthony Edwards that he was in fact the MVP of the entire postseason. And in all fairness to him, he is only 22 years old and he did not ask for these conversations or comparisons. However, when you talk all the junk he does, there is an inherent responsibility to back it up. There just is. And if we're going to compare him to the legends that we were throwing around a few weeks ago, he definitely does in that case. Edwards was just 5 of 17 tonight, 6 of 16 in Game 1, and was 5 of 24 in Game 7 against the Nuggets. And here is the big point. It's not like he isn't getting major contributions around him. Jaden McDaniels led the team in scoring on the road in Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets. He led the game in scoring again in Game 2, and tonight it was 6th man of the year Naz Reid's turn to lead the team in scoring off the bench, dropping 23 points on 8 of 13 from the field. Mike Conley had a big game, scoring 18 points on 7 of 14 shooting, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Rudy Gobert, other than getting cooked alive on that game winner by Doncic, had 16 points and 10 rebounds on 6 of 10 from the field. Karl Anthony Towns, where are you? You have to be better, and Anthony Edwards must be better. He's a top 10 player in the NBA that, again, had many talking best player type conversation on the heels of his first 8 games in these playoffs, in which he was averaging 32 points per game during that stretch on 60% shooting. But in the 5 games since, he is now averaging just 20 points per game on 33% from the field.
It's a complete crap.
Nah, it's worse than a crap. It is absolute heinous ass. And forget about Jordan for a second here, and please let's all pump the brakes on Kobe Bryant and put some damn respect on this man's name. In his aged 22 season, when he was as old as Edwards is now, Kobe was dropping 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists per game for the playoffs while leading the postseason in win shares and winning his 2nd consecutive title. Oh, and like Edwards, playing on both sides of the floor, only at a higher level, as Kobe was All-NBA defense that season. And let's also please bear in mind, when Kobe was doing that, league-wide averages for the postseason in 2001 was only 93.5 points per game on 43% shooting. Compared to league playoff averages to this point in the 2024 NBA postseason, which is sitting at 106 points per game on 46% shooting percentages. Drastically easier league. So at least for now, we can officially remove Edwards' name from any kind of comparisons with those guys. And if he wants to keep his name in the running for current face of the league title, he had better show up the rest of the way in this series. And no one is asking for him to carry a team. He has been insulated by high-level performances surrounding him on what is the #1 rated defensive team in the NBA. All we are expecting is to not shoot 33% from the field every game, and the Timberwolves should be just fine moving forward. Or he can continue making the right play.
I'm just making the right play, but...
And I can't quite place my finger on where we've heard that one before.